Oh, I almost let it go. Hello, you dirty potters. How are you today? Look what I found in the back of the closet. A little AMACO glaze. That's right, we're baking up your favorite. In today's video, we are reviewing Ebony DL-1 from the AMACO dipping and layering line. Because we all know by this point that glazes truly are just minerals floating in water, a lot of the companies have kind of figured, well, why don't we just start selling people the minerals? That way we don't have to ship the water. Technically speaking, per volume, you get a better price for the stuff. And that's what AMACO has started doing. So although it is technically more expensive to buy a 5 or 10 pound bag of the powder and mix it with water yourself, this gives you the ability of consistency, no brush strokes, it gives you the ability to dip and really control the amount of water in your glaze, which glaze makers are very pro. And if you ever wanted to have a stepping stone to making your own glazes, buying the powder itself is probably the best thing that I could advise. Especially if you use base colors like the color black, white, green, blue, things of that nature. Get rid of this box. Yeah! And technically speaking, getting a bag of this stuff is cheaper than buying a bunch of bottles of it. Let's take the average black bottle from AMACO Glaze, right? These are like, what, $20, $30 per bottle? Well, you could buy, 4 or 5 of these, or you can get a 10-pound bag of this stuff and have it be in a dippable version. All you really have to do is combine it with water. This technically is cheaper per volume versus buying a bunch of bottles of glaze. The thing that I really appreciate about dipping glazes and why I'm usually not very pro brushing glazes is because of the consistency. Whenever I brush my glazes, not only does it take forever, I have a huge mess afterwards because the brush is dipping everywhere, even though that's a skill issue on my part. But I don't get brush marks. I go much faster. I can coat the inside and the outside at the same time with a pair of tongs. I get to control the amount of water in the glaze versus guessing how much. They give me the specific gravity number in the instructions, which is really important for people like me. This just gives me way more control at a cheaper price, considering I'm going to use the color black for the base of a lot of my combos. Now in this video, I'm not gonna go over how to put together powdered glazes. I've already made a video. If you wanna watch that video, this will instruct you on how to turn the powder that you would buy from a company into glaze by mixing it with water, because it's a tiny bit more complicated than this, but overall it really just is the powder in water, although you might wanna sieve it a little bit. I do go over those steps, so this video will be linked down below if you are curious about this and you're gonna buy yourself a nice little bag. Wow, this one is a lot thicker than the other ones they sent me. We've already done reviews on their floating blue from the DL line. We've done a bunch of other ones on the channel, but this one's thick, I tell you what. Can I? Wow, it's so thick. Can I just?
God. Oh my God, he on X.
Oh yeah. Oh, there we go. Just unclump it. This is why God stays up in heaven. It's because he knows I'm down here doing this. You think I'm doing this just for the YouTube video, for like some kind of viewer retention or something, but I want to let you know I would have done this anyway. Oh, that is much better. Much, much, much better. Technically speaking, we could drill and whisk this until the cows come home, but I'm more of a sieve guy myself, so I'm gonna bring out a secondary bucket and we're gonna sieve this through. One of the reasons why I'm very pro sieving is because half of the time, a lot of these clumps are left down there. And I know you're saying to yourself right now, well, if you used a drill, no, the drill just bumps up against the bottom of the plastic bucket as I do it, and sometimes I get little bits of plastic, and you know, it's a conspiracy theory, but I've seen it happen. This way, I can get these huge chunks out that I most likely missed when I put the initial in. But if you don't tip the bucket upside down or really empty it, you kind of think everything's fine and dandy until you tip it upside down and you see these giant bumps. And the only way to smooth out these bumps is really to put them through some kind of a mesh, or to just drill or sieve until the cows come home, which ain't nobody got time for that. And there we go, a very fresh batch of DL-1 Ebony from the AMACO company. Look how much glaze that is too. This is one of those short 3-gallon buckets from Lowe's, and it's about 2/3 filled. So this will take a very long time for me to go through. You know, AMACO actually sent this to me quite some time ago, but one of the big reasons why I hadn't used it immediately is because I already have a black that I use for most of my work. I use Ron Roy's High Gloss Black. The recipe is in a John Britt book. Here is the recipe. You can totally have it. But more recently, as I learn a little bit more about glazes, it turns out Ron Roy's High Gloss Black is kind of underperforming for me. Now that we've mixed up the glaze, let's check out our testers. We have these 4 beautiful porcelain bowls to test on. We have these 2, which were nesting bowls, but unfortunately, the little mark that I put for most of my work popped off when I did the bisque because I did a rush of bisque. I shouldn't have. But some of them survived and some of them didn't. So these 2 are going to be sacrificed to the testing gods. These 2 have the same story. These 2 both popped off. Out of the 50 bowls I made this year, these 3 are the ones that popped off. So all of these are going to be tests. These are all porcelain clay from the AMACO company. The one thing that I do have that's a bit darker is this milk chocolate clay body from AMACO, along with some of their velvet spray glaze that I used in an earlier video. You probably saw me use this already, but this is all AMACO'd up. This is the AMACO velvet spray, this is the milk chocolate clay body. This is the closest thing I have to a dark clay body right now. I don't have any other reds. And on top of that, even if I did, let's go look at the kiln over here. Even if I did, this is how much room I have left in the kiln. And a bowl takes up a considerable amount of space in the kiln. I could maybe do 5 or 6 of those. And it's so close to the top that anything that I have that's a red clay body goes over the top. So these 2 are going to be Ebony DL-1 with Donte's Lumos on top. See if we can get a tasty combo out of that. And we're going to make these 2 Lynette's Opal with DL-1. We're going to see how the light and dark saga plays out with these 2. This one I'm kind of hesitating on because this milk chocolate clay body turns black or dark in the first place. It turns really, really dark. And because of that, I think putting a dark glaze on a dark body is just going to make a dark cup. I don't think this velvet spray is strong enough to come through this black here. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a little Lumos on the inside to see what we can get on Lumos on milk chocolate clay body. And then we're going to put the black on the rim here, see if it runs down a little bit and it'll be tasty. I can use the word tasty as a describer, okay? You're lucky I'm using the word tasty instead of all of the other words I want to use, all right? So you click the like button. But first of all, let's take care of the nerds. Get out the gram scale. Okay, let's check the specific gravity. Oh, that is too high. That is way too high. It's supposed to be 1.53. So we do need to add some water to the glaze. The whole video I've been like, man, this glaze feels thick. Feels good. Feels thick. Of course, that's why, Donte. You didn't add enough water. Let's try it one more time. 1.54. Okay, I'll take that. It's closer to 1.55, but you know, I think 1.54, no one's gonna get mad at us for that. So the specific gravity for our video be 1.54 to 1.55. I think that's fine. Remember to wipe the edges of your containers, even your bottle glazes, because the glaze will crust over time and it becomes super hard to open it if you leave it for way too long. So by cleaning these edges here, it just becomes a little easier at a later time. Okay, now that we have all of our testers, let's talk about what we're putting in the kiln, at what temperature, at what atmosphere, and how we glazed all of these before we fire them off. Firstly, I almost always fire at a straight cone 6 oxidation. I have no holds. It's a straight up rocket, and then I let it naturally slow cool. There will be no holds in this kiln whatsoever. I am firing at oxidation, and the specific gravity for all of these glazes are around 1.45. These two here are both porcelain bowls from the AMACO company. This is my cone 6 porcelain that I buy from them because I like it quite a bit, but they are glazed with Ebony DL-1 for 3 seconds at 1.54 specific gravity, and they have a tinge of Donte's Lumos at the top. If you want the recipe to Donte's Lumos, I will post it on my Glaze profile where it is free for anyone to use. Now these two are kind of our standard tests here. The ones that you most likely saw me do a little bit different are these two here. And they're still a bit wet, so you'll have to excuse me. These two bowls are the same exact thing. The difference is that we have Lynette's Opal on the very top, and you can tell there's a little drip right there. And the difference is that I double dipped Ebony DL-1 before. So I don't know if you can tell, but these ones here are a little bit darker than this one here, and that's because I dipped these for 3 seconds, let the glaze dry, and dipped it again. I have pretty bad experiences with Ron Roy's High Gloss Black, turning some kind of weird lightish brown if it's not thick enough or the specific gravity isn't around 1.5 to 1.6. And it uses a bunch of cobalt. I'm just not a fan of it. So I wanted to see if these turn brown, if I double dipped it for 3 seconds, let it dry 2 seconds, if it would turn a darker or richer black. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they'll all be black. But if there's a difference in the quality of black of this versus this, I will know to put a thicker application or a 4-second dip from now on instead of the standard 3 that we're doing here. Now this one here is AMACO's milk chocolate with AMACO's white velvet spray, Donte's Lumos as a liner glaze on the inside as it is meant to be used, and a little bit of that DL-1 Ebony from AMACO on the top. So technically speaking, this is the reverse combo of this right here. This is black and then Donte's Lumos, this is Donte's Lumos, and then the black. With that being said, these are your testers. We are firing all of these at cone 6 oxidation, and with that being said, let's put them in the kiln. Okay, now that everything's out of the kiln, let's take a look. Firstly, let's take a look with DL-1 with Donte's Lumos on top. Look at that. The camera's having a hard time focusing because if you get close enough, it's like you're looking into the abyss. We got some really good results here with the combination. Just on the lip where Donte's Lumos meets Ebony, we have this beautiful kind of blue frosted melt going on here. And it's really stable. None of this ran whatsoever. And I ran a really good cone 6. I in fact put an Orton cone in there and this was a straight 6. It truly was. But look, none of this, and I truly do mean none of this, went below the foot. I barely wiped it off. And that's echoed in the other one that we did as well. We did the same exact combo as a confirmation test. Our confirmation test came out exactly the same, which is what we like to see on this channel. We often double test things just to make sure they come out the same way 2 times. And if they come out the exact same way 2 different times in the same kiln load, we kind of know that this is a standard stable glaze that we can work with. And I'm really happy with this combo. The one thing I am unhappy with, and I know what causes this, and I know it's very easily fixable, is that I had some, where is it? There it is. This glaze did crawl on me a couple of different times. And because I know crawling is majoritively a problem with thickness of application, I have a blog at earthnationceramics.com that will tell you what causes crawling 95% of the time. I know that I just applied this glaze too thick. That truly is the only issue and the main reason crawling happens. It's just you have a really high viscosity glaze, or you applied your glaze super thick. Especially when you're dipping, that can happen very easily. And at first I thought it was just me, because I had this Lumos right here go on here and it kind of went around it. And so I thought the combination of my Lumos along with the glaze was the problem, mainly because my Lumos glaze has a lot of zinc in it and that stuff soaks up water like nobody's business. So it ends up being really thick on application sometimes. And then I saw the other tester and I was like, okay, there's crawling right there where Lumos is not making contact with Ebony. That's okay, that's weird. And then I looked on the outside and was like, okay, there's another one right there where there's no Lumos whatsoever on top of this part. So I do think that if you're gonna run this glaze at home, you should put it at a lower specific gravity. I know the recommendation is somewhere along 1.54 or something like that. I think you should run it at a good 1.45 or 1.4 specific gravity. I think if I put more water in the glaze, this would not have happened. It's a good thing you subscribe to this YouTube channel, so that way I can destroy my stuff for you before you destroy your stuff. Now let's take a look of DL-1 underneath the classic Lynette's Opal. Oh my lord, that is a beautiful combo right there. It looks like the galaxy. It looks like you're looking at the Milky Way from far away. Look at that little dip right there, little whoop. Love that. Sometimes I come across glazes that are a little bit too good for my own liking. Like for example, this is a really reflective glaze. Like if you called this glaze black mirror, I would agree with you 100%. It's so reflective and dark at the same time that you can technically see me in the glaze. Hello. You can see my pink apron and everything, right? But there's nothing I can do about that because a lot of the colors that get reflected back from the camera are based on the glaze I use themselves. So lots of my glaze reviews don't show me in the background, but some of them, and sometimes I'm wearing a weird bright orange shirt. But there's nothing you could do to get rid of like the color of my skin in the camera. Me wearing a different shirt is not going to help any of this. This is the same exact combo of Lynette's Opal over DL-1, and again, I got crawling right there and right at the edge right there as well. And I think I got one more somewhere. Yeah, I got a bunch of it right here. I can kind of excuse this up here just because that's a combination. And if thickness of glaze is what usually causes crawling, then I know, okay, I put too much glaze in one spot. I get that. But I keep getting it in spots that have nothing to do with combinations like this one right here. This didn't have any other glaze combined with it. I only did it on the very top and rim. And it's a very stable glaze. So by my estimation, I'm just gonna start putting more water in this glaze. I'm just gonna run it by a lower specific gravity, even though the recommendation is higher than what I'm going to run next time. And I'm willing to bet the majority of my glazes are probably gonna come out just as dark and just as good regardless of that. Now the one that we do have that I love quite a bit, I regret not using Donte's Lumos as a liner glaze and then doing black over all of them, because our final tester was Donte's Lumos on a milk chocolate clay body from AMACO, a little bit of that white velvet spray, and I put DL-1 on the very rim. And this came out magnificent. That is gold right there. That is amazing. I am keeping this combo for myself 100%. In fact, you now have access to this combo because you can buy DL-1 from AMACO, and I know the recipe to Donte's Lumos is not only public on my Glaze file, but it's in a book that recently got sold. I know the recipe's out there. So you can totally have this combo for yourself. I want to keep this so bad, but I'm aware that I cannot just keep keeping stuff. I have to sell it. I have to put it on my website, earthnationceramics.com, and I have to sell it, because if I don't, then I'm just gonna have a bunch of these, and then I'll be poor. And then I'll just be like, how come I have no money for lunch? But I have tons of pots. I am a bad pot dealer. Well, thank you, Dirty Potters, for joining me for the Glaze review of DL-1 Ebony from the AMACO company. You know, I do like this black. It kind of got rid of all my fears of the Ron Roy's high gloss blacks I've been through, because I'm telling you, if you do not put Ron Roy's high gloss black on correctly or have the right specific gravity, it just turns out brown. It truly just does turn out brown. But the closer I look at this, I see no brown whatsoever. I just see just pure darkness and reflectiveness going on in this glaze. It's a very well developed glaze, but I do think the specific gravity does need to be lower on the whole. I think I had crawling on all but one of these, and it was this one right here. And the ones that I double dipped, the ones that I dipped a little bit more, which I think were the Lynette's Opal ones, got more crawling than the others. So this does go along with our, I'm not even gonna call it a theory at this point. I'm pretty sure my blog, as well as a lot of the info out there, concludes that crawling is majoritively caused by thickness of application. So these crawled, this crawled, this crawled. This is the only one that did not crawl, and I'm very surprised that it didn't crawl. My suggestion, if you buy this glaze, is just to put a little more water in it, and if you know how to weigh your specific gravity, just make sure it's a little bit below 1.5 or around 1.45. Even though the company says don't put it there, I would suggest putting it at a lower specific gravity. And if this combo right here has anything to say about the rest of the glaze, I mean, I'm gonna abuse this combo. I'm letting you know right now, you are going to see this combo on my shop, on my website, a lot more, because this is the kind of stuff that I like, and this is what I look for when I look up like Japanese style work. I look for stuff like this because this is the kind of thing that I'm attracted to. And this combo really does lend itself, tying the white together in with the velvet spray and the dark body, and just it just looks so good. I'm trying so hard not to keep this. But again, thank you for watching this video. Remember to click all those YouTube buttons so AMACO likes what I do so we can keep doing it. And I will see you, Dirty Potters, next week.
Thank you for your patronage.
Oh, you see that light? Oh, yeah, that's some light right there. I bet I could hook up the solar panel in there a bit.